Hey, I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and share with you some things from the second chapter of the book that we started, Who's Holding Your Ladder? I hope that you will be able to apply some of these principles to your ministry and that they will be helpful. All right, so one of the things that the author of the book talked about in chapter two is they ask us this question: what kind of person is holding your ladder? Now, if you remember from the premise of chapter one, the idea of a ladder holder is someone who is able to help you to go higher and to achieve more success as a leader. So every leader needs a good ladder holder. The example that they use is someone who is painting high up on a building. So without a ladder holder, you might feel comfortable or be capable of going 10, 15, maybe even 20 feet up in the air. But the higher you get, the more risky it becomes because the ladder becomes unstable. So for you to be able to ascend to greater heights, to be able to accomplish more, you need someone at the foot of the ladder holding it. But it matters the type of person that you have holding your ladder. So that's what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. So one of the things to remember is that support roles are significant roles. I know it's so easy for people who find themselves in a support role to think that they are secondary, that they hold less value or importance than other people who might have more public positions, who might be out in front of others, maybe who are engaging in public speaking. And a lot of times, those individuals are really charismatic socially. They draw people to themselves really easily. And so the people that are more behind the scenes begin to feel left out. And they might even begin to buy into this false idea that their role is not important. People who are in support roles are the foundation of every organization. The people in support roles allow the leader to reach their highest potential. I know as the leader of our church that there are so many things that I could absolutely not do without the help of the people around me. I think about speaking on a Sunday morning. Well, for me to be able to get up there, I need the people in the sound booth who are controlling the microphone so that people can hear the things that I'm saying. The people who are running the lighting so that people can see me up on the stage. The people who are running the slides so that people are able to follow along with the scripture passages that I'm reading from. And that's just a small example of the number of people that it takes for me to be able to climb my ladder on a weekly basis. But you know what? Every single one of us are climbing a ladder of some kind. And the people that are holding that ladder for us, they are the ones that allow us to accomplish the things that are in our hearts to do. Those people holding the ladder give the leader the confidence to go higher because they don't have to worry about falling. I know from personal experience, there were a lot of years where I just did not have the courage to take any steps forward or really to engage in any type of positive risk taking. And by risk taking, I mean just doing things that were outside of my comfort zone because I was always terrified of failing because I was often doing things on my own. So when I began to have people that were willing to come alongside and hold that ladder, oh my goodness, my confidence began to grow. An example of this would be I sent out a questionnaire to our strategy team and to our elders and to some of our other leaders, and I just asked a couple of questions. And from those responses, I was really blessed by the confirmation that I received from what God was saying to other people about some of the direction for us to take in 2023. And it gave me a lot of insight into those initiatives that were going to be top priority. And it allowed me to start processing through some of the things that God had been speaking to my heart. So again, ladder holders are absolutely necessary. And if you find yourself in a support role, don't count yourself out. Recognize and understand that without you, nothing else really gets done. Being trusted to hold the ladder is a sign of strength and competence. It is not an insult. So if someone comes alongside of you and says, "Hey, can you help me with this?" What they're not saying is, "You're not as important as me." And they're definitely not saying, "You're not as good as someone else." What they're saying to you, if I come alongside and ask you to do something, is I'm saying to you, I trust you to do this when I don't trust anyone else. And it's meant as a compliment. All right, so who are some of the people that we do not want holding our ladder? Well, the first type of person that the authors identify are those who need constant reminding. In a ladder holder, willingness and ability are meaningless without initiative. So, oh my goodness, if you need somebody to help you, but you have to constantly remind them, and I know Brittany, our volunteer director, she has to deal with this all the time, right? Because we've realized that culturally there's been this marked shift. It used to be that you could just give people a calendar and a schedule once a month, and they would show up, no questions asked. Well, now it's gotten to the point where you basically have to send out a text a week ahead, at the beginning of the week, and then the day of, and sometimes an hour beforehand, just to make sure that people remember to show up and do the thing that they've already agreed to doing. It can be very, very frustrating. And so if you're holding somebody else's ladder, if you are in a support position, whatever capacity that might look like, and you know what, many times support roles are leadership roles in their own right. So we have different leadership positions in our organizational chart. At the top of our organizational chart, and this does not mean hierarchy. This does not mean more important. This just means organizationally, we have our pastor position, and then we have our elders, and alongside of them are our strategic leaders. And so under the pastor position, then we have our directors, our different directors who are overseeing our coordinators. And the coordinators are the ones overseeing the team members. Now, every single one of those leaders is a leader in their own right. They have their own ladders to climb, but those directors are directly responsible for holding my ladder. So I want to make sure that those individuals don't need me to constantly remind them of the things I need them to do. Because in my position, I really need to have the opportunity just to be able to say something that I'm thinking about, to speak something that's on my mind, and know and trust that they're going to be able to not only hear me, but they're going to take that and they're going to run with it. And you need that same thing for you. You need somebody who is going to have initiative along with their willingness and ability. Another type of person that you don't want holding your ladder is someone that needs constant reminding or instruction. Oh my goodness. People that need constant reminding or instruction, especially that instruction part, they make us just want to do the job ourselves. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, you just need to delegate. You just need to delegate. And there are times where I just think, you know what? It takes me so much longer to delegate things than it does just to get it done on my own. So be mindful. Now, clarity, as Pastor Eddie says, clarity is the next best thing to certainty. But if you have to clarify over and over and over and over again, well, that type of person just may not be the right ladder holder for you. If I find myself constantly having to just certify what I've already said to somebody, or they've just got 25 questions that are really the same question, but they're just asked different ways, and they're asking because they are insecure, or maybe they're just not competent in that area. And that doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they're not the right person to be holding that ladder at that time. Another type of person that we don't holding our ladder is those who behave casually. We need people who will work intentionally and are not easily distracted. Let me give a couple of examples just from our context. Like maybe say a greeter that does not stay in their position. And it makes people have to open the door for themselves. You know what? Door greeters are absolutely important for the church because they make people feel welcome. They let people know that they're valued and that they're important as they're coming in our doors. But if you have somebody over there who's just chit-chatting away and they're constantly distracted, and they're there because they're willing to hold a role, but they're not actually focused on the work that needs to be done, or maybe they get annoyed anytime you actually ask them to focus on what they're supposed to be doing, that's not the right person to be holding that ladder. Another example would be a grouchy check-in person. If you've got, new families coming into your church and you got somebody who's checking kids in who just basically can't be bothered, well, that's not going to be the right person either. Another person is someone more interested in their own performance than they are in serving. And I've dealt with this before, where you kind of get that diva personality and everything's about them, and they're not really interested in doing what's best for other people. It's just really the show is all about themselves. So we want to be sure that we're picking people to hold our ladders. And if we're holding ladders, we want to make sure that we are people who are working with intentionality and that we are not easily distracted. Guys, we love to make excuses. We love to talk about how busy we are and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? We're all busy. And I can point out people in our church who work 60, 70 hours every single week, but I never have to ask them to do something twice. You know what? We have couples in our church who have multiple kids. They work two jobs. They have all of these activities and all these things going on, but they are always dependable. Dependability is really a part of our character. And it really speaks to how seriously we take the things that we have said that we're going to do. All right. Another type of person that we want to be careful not to have hold our ladder. Those who are only looking to build their resume. These are the type of people who are always looking for the next opportunity. You know what? These people come around all the time and they will gladly say yes. But as soon as something that they might like better comes along, they're going to be gone so fast that they're gonna leave one of those dust silhouettes like you would see in like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, right? So if you're holding a ladder, be sure that if you make a commitment, that you stick with it. Don't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this," and then when somebody else asks you to do something, go to the first person and say, "Hey, I'm bailing." Now, that doesn't mean that maybe a transition isn't coming, but don't leave a position until you've done the work to help fill the position. Don't just leave them in a lurch because you found something that you would rather do. If you've committed to doing something, see it through until someone else is able to come along and take over the ladder holding for you. Oh, this is a huge one. Somebody that you don't want holding your ladder is someone that's just unhappy, just somebody negative all the time. They always have a critical spirit, but they're unwilling to change or to move on. These are the type of people that you just want to invite to another church. You want to invite them to another company. If you are holding a ladder, have a good attitude. Be positive about the work that you're doing. That doesn't mean that you can't offer constructive criticism. Number one, don't do that publicly. And number two, when you're around, be mindful of what your face looks like. Have a smile on your face. Be encouraging, be engaging. Let people know that you want to be there. People shouldn't feel like you are being held at gunpoint, right? And if you're choosing somebody, choose the people that are going to be positive. But at the same time, and this last one is so important, we want people who are holding our ladders, or rather, we don't want people who are holding our ladders who are just going to agree with everything. We don't want to surround ourselves with yes men. Idea people are great, but only when they're also willing to help execute. It's really easy to find people. I could go out every single Sunday and walk up to people because I'm a leader, I'm the pastor of the church, and say, "Hey, would you help me with this?" And I could get a lot of people to say, "Oh, yeah, Pastor Tanner, that's a great idea. I love that initiative. Let's do it. I'm going to be there for sure." And then when it comes time, they're nowhere to be found. Why? Because it makes people feel good to say yes in the moment. People like to see themselves as doing that thing, whether or not they're actually willing or able or planning to do it. We can convince ourselves of pretty much anything. So if you're holding a ladder, don't just say yes to everything, but remember, this is also not an excuse to say no to everything. Just be somebody that follows through. Be somebody who actually does the thing that you're going to say yes to. Because what happens a lot of times is the Holy Spirit will speak to us about doing something in the moment and we'll say yes. But then a couple of days later, maybe we're having a rough day, maybe we're having a rough week, whatever it is, and then we don't feel like it. Don't allow your feelings to dictate whether or not you're going to do the thing that you've already said that you're going to do. Now, again, if you find yourself overcommitted If you find yourself saying yes to too many things, well, the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the things that are coming up immediately, that you do those, that you suck it up and you do it so you don't leave somebody in a lurch. But then you communicate and you say, listen, I have overextended myself. Yes, I'm going to be here for the next couple of weeks, but I really need to step out of this role because I've said yes to too many things. Don't just drop it. And don't just go around offering false hope and agreeing with everything single thing that you hear, because that's not helpful either. I don't want somebody holding my ladder who's yelling up the ladder, telling me how great I am, only to allow me to fall off the ladder 2 minutes later because the wind started blowing and they didn't like being out in the wind. Does that make sense? Well, I hope that you guys have found this little conversation to be helpful. I plan to continue to do this at least once a month to go through this book, and then hopefully we'll find some other books to go through. God bless you. Have a great day.